Welcome back to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Ian McNaughton, Big E. Thank you very much for joining us. We got a great episode in store. Coming up later on, we have a conversation with Scott Konkin, Scotty K. He's back on the pod. Scotty and I discuss the NHL's Pacific Division. We preview all the teams. We share our favorite X factors on each team, give predictions. It's a really great conversation. You don't want to miss it. We go about an hour 40, almost 2 hours discussing the Pacific Division. We answer some of your questions on the SYP mailbag. Really great stuff. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned for that. But before we get into that, I want to discuss something that I found really interesting this past weekend. The UFC hosted UFC Noche. I think that's how you say it. USA Noche pay-per-view held at the Sphere in Las Vegas this past weekend. Now, for context, the UFC, they typically spend $1 to $2 million on their pay-per-views, whether that's in Madison Square Garden, whether that's Nationwide Arena in Columbus, with the production, with the, catering, all of it, whatever, bring, setup, you name it. It costs about $1 to $2 million on average for the UFC to put on a pay-per-view. For this past weekend, the UFC originally budgeted for $8 million. By the time Saturday came, that budget ballooned up to $20 million. So the UFC spent about 10 times more on the UFC Noche, on this pay-per-view at the Sphere, than they did on a regular pay-per-view, on a normal pay-per-view. Now, they've already made their money back. Reportedly, the UFC's gate revenue for the event was $22 million. So they broke even, which it's, I believe, the highest, if not the most gate revenue ever for a UFC event. But Dana White, head of the UFC, I don't know if he's CEO, I don't know what his official title is, he's repeatedly said throughout all of this that this is a one and done. He doesn't see a world in which the UFC goes back to the Sphere. And really, I have no reason to doubt him. The UFC have a contract with MGM, which runs T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So any of their Las Vegas events that they do, they typically do it either at UFC Apex, which is their headquarters, or T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. The only reason this pay-per-view this past weekend wasn't at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas was because Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing scheduled a match for Canelo Alvarez to box there on Saturday night. So Dana White had to pivot. He had to find an alternative option. And instead of, finding some other, not rinky-dink, but just other kind of random, here's a pay-per-view in Phoenix, or here's a pay-per-view in Anaheim, whatever, he went big, and he went with the Sphere in Las Vegas. Now, I don't think there have been many, if any, live sporting events that have gone on inside the Sphere. I know the NHL had their draft there earlier this summer. I know Formula One races around there. That's part of their circuit, part of their track layout is driving around the Sphere. But there haven't been many opportunities for live sports to take place in there. And one of the big questions this past weekend was, does the UFC having a pay-per-view at the Sphere set up for other sports leagues or other sporting events to take place in the Sphere? And I did a bit of research and was looking into it. And the thing that jumps out to me immediately is there aren't many opportunities for sports leagues to host events at the Sphere. Like, sure, leagues can be like the NHL and host their respective draft or host award shows. You can do that. That's fine. I don't think there's a real added cost. There's not a cost benefit to hosting at the Sphere. It costs a lot to put on events at the Sphere. If you talk to UFC, the NHL, I couldn't find a dollar figure as to how much it costs to put on an event at the Sphere, but the NHL said it didn't really matter. It was just the opportunity to be there and to showcase the NHL in a new and different way. Which, fair enough. Okay, I understand that part of it. But in terms of live sports, the only leagues or organizations that I could see hosting an event there are the NBA, the WNBA. NCAA could have some basketball there. Non-conference game could be held there. Boxing could be held at the Sphere. AEW, WWE, wrestling events could be held at the Sphere. I'm sure any sort of esports can be held if it hasn't already been held at the Sphere. Maybe X Games, if the X Games are still relevant and they're ever in Las Vegas, the Sphere could be a venue for that. I don't know about something like PBR, if that would ever work. Probably not. I don't know about tennis. There's only a finite amount of leagues and organizations that could actually put on live sporting events in the Sphere. There's just, between the cost of production to put on an event at the Sphere, between the actual space that you have, the stage is not a big space to work with. I highly doubt you can do hockey there. You're not doing anything baseball. You're not doing anything football. There's no real opportunity to do a live sport there, which is not frustrating, but that's just how it goes. That's just the way it is. And it's why you can see, you could have leagues, again, do drafts, award shows, benefits. I don't know what the opportunity is for most leagues to do something there, unless you're the NBA, the WNBA, NCAA, WWE, and a lot of those leagues have the money to do so, because that's part of it as well, is having a sports league or a team that has the finances to put an event on. It's a select group, it's a finite group of people that would be able to pay for something to happen at the Sphere. And even with these leagues, paying their own dollar, I'm not sure any of them could put on an event without financial support. Kind of like with the UFC, they got a deal with Saudi Arabia to promote Riyadh season. You saw it all over the marketing, all over the broadcast on Saturday. So the UFC, and that was not released, but the UFC did get financial backing from Saudi Arabia to help put this on, and in return, showing their logo a bunch, mentioning it on the broadcast, including the logo and marketing materials. So it's not like the UFC just put $20 million of their own money into it. There was help that went along the way. I think instead of having events in the Sphere, I think what we're going to see is the Sphere will actually change how we design and how we build arenas and sporting venues. The massive screens are incredible. The motion video is incredible. I think that's what the future has in store for sporting venues and sporting arenas. Not going to the Sphere, but bringing the Sphere to new arenas. We're already seeing with venues like SoFi Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the halos that hang above the stadium, hanging above the playing field. The Intuit Dome in LA, which is the new arena for the Clippers, they'll include features like slots in their Halo board, so every fan has a chance to get a T-shirt. There's going to be charging ports at your seat. There's going to be a wall, which is a supporter section that's inspired by Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. I think that's more what the Sphere will contribute, not actually hosting any of the, they'll host a few things, but it'll change how we view and engage with a fan experience. That's the opportunity that lies ahead here. This is an excellent chance for teams looking at new venues to get inspiration from. The Calgary Flames, for example, are building their new arena. The Scotia Barn is what Scott referred to it later on in the episode when we were talking about the Flames. The Scotia Barn, Anaheim, San Jose, St. Louis, Vancouver, even like a team like Boston, who, the TD Garden is coming up to 30 years in case the city of Boston is looking for a new venue. That's a venue in the Sphere that they can take inspiration from. We're looking at with NFL stadiums like the new Buffalo Bills stadium, the new Chicago Bears stadium that's supposed to come, the new Cleveland Browns stadium that they're trying to get, the Jags renovations, a new stadium in Kansas City. All of these teams and all of these leagues I think, are going to be looking at how can they draw inspiration from the Sphere and bring it to their own world and make it their own? How can they make it, Flames-esque? How can they make it Boston-esque? How can they make it good for football? That's what I think the Sphere will bring. I don't think the Sphere is a real, to be perfectly honest, I don't think the Sphere is a real sustainable model and a sustainable operation. I think it's great for gimmick events like the NHL draft and a UFC pay-per-view, and you can get away with gimmicks here, there, everywhere, once every 4 to 6 months. I think you can get away with a gimmick. I think I definitely think there would be a lot of interest if the NBA did their in-season tournament there, or if the NCAA had non-conference basketball there. Even I don't know about volleyball, but I think there's an opportunity for other leagues and other organizations. WWE could have a pay-per-view there. AEW could have a pay-per-view there. I definitely think there's an opportunity for leagues and organizations to go there and put on a gimmick event, which is fine. You can do that once in a while, not all the time. But for each individual team, they're going to be looking at ways to draw inspiration from the Sphere to make it their own, to have their own sort of impact and own sort of inspiration when creating a new fan experience or a new scoreboard or a new whatever. That's what the Sphere will bring, and that's what the Sphere has the opportunity to do so. That's what I would be expecting in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. By the end of this decade, at least, that's what I think will be changing. And the Sphere has done it's a big inspiration. The Sphere has done a tremendous job of that. But that's what is coming next in terms of a fan engagement, in terms of fan experience, and you have to remember these aren't just hockey rinks. These aren't just basketball arenas that they're building. These are event centers. These are concert venues. These are multi-purpose, whatever jargon you want to use. These are multi-purpose, can do it all venues, masterpieces it's really what they are becoming. So, congratulations to the UFC. It looked like they put on one hell of an event this past weekend. It looked really cool, really fun. I think everybody who went had a really fun time. I think the fights were more or less pretty good, but it was a gimmick. And you can do a gimmick. A gimmick is fine. A gimmick you can get away with every once in a while, but you can't make your whole operation a gimmick, and that's why the UFC probably isn't going to go back there. But they did it. They put on a successful event. People watch. People pay to go see it, and now they can move on. Now we can, adapt what we like, take what we like from the Sphere, and apply it and use that as our own. That's the takeaway from the Sphere this weekend. So that was my little opening. I wanted to share that, give my 2 cents on that. So now, we'll be right back. Stick around. We're going to get Scotty K back in here. I'm going to do a little magic, and then you'll get to hear our NHL Pacific Division preview. So just stick around. We'll be right back. Pleased to be joined once again for the first time in Lord knows how long. Friend of the show, my best friend, Scotty K. Scott Konkin, what's going on, big guy? What's happening?
What's up? It's good to be back. It's this is, I think, the second episode that you're dropping. Very honored to be welcomed back to the Speak Your Piece podcast, and I'm pumped. I'm so ready for hockey. I'm got my coaching going. I got my own games, my own men's league games going next week, and my Ducks and the rest of the NHL are getting going in a couple weeks here. I'm pumped. I love hockey season, and I can't wait to get it going.
It's gonna be a really interesting season coming up. Like, I feel like the off season's been really fast, but I don't know if that's all. I don't know if that's just all like with all the moves in like August, where like there's been shit happening for like the last month or so.
Yeah, and I think like especially how late the playoffs went going into that so far into June, and then the
Yeah,
draft and then free agency all within like a week was a little bananas. But it made for some great entertainment, and it's been a pretty interesting off season. There was a couple quiet weeks, but some very, I'm sure we'll get into as we get on in the podcast. There's some big events in the NHL, some, offer sheets, passing of a player, like some other big events that were like, oh my gosh, this is wow, what an off season. But yeah, I agree, definitely a quicker off season. I mean, I think speaking as a Canadian, like I think having the Oilers in the playoffs as long as they were definitely helped with that, because I felt checked in the full time through playoffs and how far the Canucks went and just all of that. So very exciting time in the National Hockey League, and hard to top last year and how exciting it was. So hopefully this year will be really good. The NHL is in a good place, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen this year.
especially in the finals. Like the finals
Oh,
definitely was like insane because you thought it was over and then it wasn't over, and
yeah, it was.
then Game 7 was like, holy shit, okay, this rocks. This is great.
Yeah.
The draft, I did not get to watch the actual draft. I didn't get to sit and watch it. I don't know if you did. I saw all the clips, and
Yep.
like the sphere is incredible.
It was really cool. Yeah. I know they're talking about doing a decentralized draft. Where they all kind of do it. I think it's like the NBA does it, or maybe the NFL. I forget exactly. I mean, that might be the NFL.
Somebody does it though.
Yeah, a couple. I mean, MLB definitely does it, but like a decentralized where teams are at their own home base and they Skype or Zoom call in or whatever. Maybe they have a representative from their team at the venue where it might be, and they have the players there. But outside of that, yeah, it'll be. I don't know. I liked it at the Sphere. It was cool in Nashville last year too. Yeah, I mean, the draft's the draft. Like it's about the players getting drafted. To me, it's not less about the venue itself. But um, yeah, some interesting picks. I'm not sure if you want to get into that or we want to talk something else, but
And I was basically giving my segue.
bring it on. Let's hear it.
So basically, you and I are going to be discussing the NHL's Pacific Division. I figured because like I know we all know like you and I both have like Canuck fans in our lives that are like mostly
Oh
our
yeah,
friends. So I feel like that's kind of like low hanging fruit. So I wanted to get your opinion on somebody, a third party. I think because you were in a Ducks jersey, you're not obviously the biggest Canucks fan, so that's why we got to sprinkle a little change every once in a while. You got to mix it up. Got to throw a curveball.
yeah.
Um,
Some Homer Canucks fans in our friend group. So that's yeah, it's there's a few homers, but that's okay. Like they can speak they can speak their piece when they need to. I got you there. But yeah, honestly, like as a I like to support the Canucks. I like to support the Oilers. Like I once my Ducks are gone, I had a conversation with my sister's boyfriend a couple minutes ago. It's yeah, once the Ducks are gone, I root for Canadian teams and I root for Nashville, and then the rest, I don't care as long as it's a good series. I don't really care. So.
so the Pacific Division was, I don't want to say a toss up last year, but I don't think anybody thought the Canucks were going to win it all. Like the Canucks winning the Pacific, they're not winning the Cup, but I mean winning the division title.
Yeah,
You had obviously the Oilers who went to the finals, Vegas who had a really good first round series with Dallas. The LA Kings are there. You know, we'll start with the Sharks, I guess, in the basement. I feel. Do you want to actually? I'll throw it to you. Do you want to start from lowest to highest, or do you want to go from highest to low?
let's go low to high. Let's go from
All
the
right.
basement up, and I think that's a good place to talk about a bit about the draft and who the Sharks picked in the first round, first overall. And that's Vancouver, BC native Macklin Celebrini, who I think, for considering his situation with his family, with his dad working with the Golden State Warriors. I think and he played junior San Jose Sharks growing up. I think it's the perfect fit for him. Macklin seems like a Shark. He looks great in the jersey. Kind of a no-brainer pick in my mind. First overall, he's an elite, dynamic game breaker, very headsy player. Kind of, I don't want to say he's like Crosby, but he's got very Crosby-like characteristics about him, which is very exciting to see. And it's going to be fun to watch. He's elite. He will be elite in this league, and he will be doing it for a long time.
I feel like the obvious comp that everyone's making for him is kind of Bedard. Like I feel like that's kind of the chalk, because we just saw it not this past year but the year before, of the big superstar. Everybody knew that Celebrini was essentially going first overall when the season started, right? Like there wasn't really a whole lot of debate of like, 1 and 2. It's Celebrini and then everybody else. It was Bedard and then everybody else. And I think part of where this comp comes from is where the Sharks are in their organization, similar to where the Blackhawks kind of still are in their organization, but rebuilding. They need a centerpiece. They need a guy that people can attach to and be interested in. That's where I think he gets the Bedard comp, for better or worse.
Like in terms of like this type in the draft, I agree. I wouldn't say Bedard and Celebrini are similar players at all. They're not.
No,
they're not at all. I think Bedard's a world level goal scorer, where Celebrini is more of a dynamic, dual offensive threat. But I'm not saying Bedard's not a good playmaker. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's more like the Celebrini's got more of both elements to his game. He also plays more of a defensive two-way game, if you will, than Bedard would, I would argue. The thing, and with the Sharks, like you brought up a point about being like the guy, like as good as Will Smith is going to be, and he's going to be very good. I just think having that two-way punch down the middle. Look at all the good teams in the West. Like you look at Los Angeles in their prime. You look at Vancouver now. You look at Edmonton. All these teams have two premier centers, and assuming Will Smith is going to play center, there you go. You've got your two centers down the middle there. You've got Celebrini and you've got Will Smith, who they'll be great. I think Will Smith will play this year on the Sharks, and he'll be good.
Yeah, and it's set and forget it. Like that's like one, like you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, 100%. No, the Sharks are good, dude. I'm excited about that team, and they have lots. Again, they're gonna be bad. They'll be bad.
So like, do we think there's gonna be like, what's the best case do we think for the Sharks this year? Like they won, what was it, 19 games this past year, so like they win 25
games. They're still gonna have a top 5 pick this year coming up, and they should draft a defenseman to help keep the puck out of the net with their new guy Yaroslav Askarov, who they picked up from Nashville. That was big too. When I saw that, I was like, holy shit. The Sharks they kind of fleeced the Predators out of that one. I won't lie. That was a good. He'll be elite. That'll be a good goal there.
Compared to, is it Mackenzie Blackwood and I think is it Vitek Vanacek?
Yes, Vanacek's there. Yeah.
So like that was what their goaltending duo was, looking like going into the season. Why not? Because they did give one of Vegas's first round picks to acquire Askarov. Like I feel like that's a risk worth taking. Like I feel like that. Yep. I feel like that's for where the Sharks are now. That's a move where it's like, that's a move that's worth making. That's a risk worth taking. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like goaltending is such a, like, I know it's a cliche, but goaltending is such a gamble either way.
It is.
Like if you don't have a guy, throw a first round pick at a guy who a lot of people think can be the guy, and just run with it and see.
Yeah, Askarov was one of the top goalies in the AHL with Milwaukee Admirals, Nashville's farm team. So, and he's gonna play. He will play in the NHL this year. He is the top 2 goalies in the San Jose Sharks organization, and Daily Kristoff has him as the backup right now. So we'll see what happens with that. Another guy of note I want to just throw out there, just as big additions. 2 guys actually. Tyler Toffoli to
Yeah.
play with Pellery, which is great, and Alex Wenberg, another guy
Those
down
are
the middle.
those are literally the two guys I have marked down as notable acquisitions
Yep.
this year.
Everyone else, like Cody Cece will be fine. I mean, like, and then Jake Wallman, Mr. Gritty. Mr. Gritty, man, clip that.
Post that on social. Yeah, no,
Well,
like I like it's really Toffoli and Wenberg, I think, are like the two
I agree.
centerpieces. Like, I don't know how much Cody Cece is really going to change things. I don't know how much Jake Wallman's really going to change. Like, none of those guys are game breakers. They're nice players. They're, solid players. I don't know that they're game breakers. Not that I guess Toffoli or Wenberg are really game breakers, but like Toffoli will probably put up 25 goals this year, maybe 30 if he really
Yeah,
like does well, and like that's better than it's better losing 4-2 every night than 4-1. I guess is the point with
I
Tyler Toffoli.
guess so, but the Sharks are gonna do that a lot. They're not gonna do very well. They should finish in the basement of this division again. I don't expect much from them.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be another high pick, which is good. They need another high pick on that team. So
underrated uniforms.
yes. As much as I'm supposed to hate the Sharks as a Ducks fan, their uniforms are kind of nice. I like their young players. We'll see what happens.
There's things happening. There's at least things happening.
Oh yeah.
It's I feel like they've hit they've hit the abyss. Now everything is like they've hit their valley. Now everything is up from here.
I agree. Yep.
All right, let's go then to the Anaheim Ducks. Your Anaheim Ducks last year. Last year they got 27 wins, 59 points. They didn't really do much in the offseason. They added Brian Dumoulin, Robbie Fabry.
Yeah. Some additions. I think the biggest thing though with the Ducks is it's less about their offseason actual additions from free agency, whatnot. It's more about letting their players that are in the system already grow and develop and take on bigger roles. Again, I wouldn't, he didn't play. He played one game. Cutter Gauthier will make an impact in the NHL this year. What it looks like, I don't know. If it's 10 games, if it's 80 games, if it's 50 games, I don't know. He will be a big part of that team. He's going to play probably second line. Second line minutes, top six. Put him in a spot. He's big, dominant forward. He dominated college, NCAA Div 1 last year. He was great. Played for Boston College. He lit it up. So it's going to be fun to watch him play with a Zegras, with a McTavish, with pick your poison. Like, there's some great players. A full year of Leo Carlson will be huge. I think he's going to be a monster. People don't expect, because he plays in Anaheim. He was kind of like why did you pick him over Fantilli? All that. But I think he's a weapon, and he's still growing. He's 19. He's still growing. Like Fantilli, Fantilli's already fully grown. Like, some of the other guys are fully grown. Carlson's still got room to grow. He's going to be 6'4". He can skate like the wind. He's a player. So, and penciled in as our top line center right now, and will be our top line center for a long time. So, very exciting down the middle depth when you have Mason McTavish, Captain Canada, as your third line center listed. Not that he will be all year, but very exciting stuff in Anaheim. They're still going to be bad. They just are.
I was gonna say I wanted to give you some room to run with it, but I did put down, like, it's a big year for the youngsters on the Ducks.
Yes.
And the other two guys I have is Pavel. What is his defenseman? I don't want
Pavel Minchikov.
Pavel Minchikov. I did not want to butcher that. I wanted to get just wanted to confirm with you before I tried to pronounce his name. And Olin Zellweger. I feel like he's gonna probably, I would think, get more time he'll probably go back and forth, I would think, between Anaheim and San Diego. But
I think Zelly's gonna play the full year. I think he showed a lot of brilliant flashes last year, and he's gonna make a big jump this year. He looks very comfortable in the NHL. He's small, yes, but he doesn't play small. He plays really big. You saw him firsthand in Everett.
Yeah.
Right? So he plays bigger than he is. His quads are huge, dude. Like, it's unbelievable.
He's tough to defend against.
Well, that's exactly, and he's tough
You,
to play offense against too.
yeah,
He's very sneaky. Again, he's known as an offensive defenseman, and I would have him as that any day of the week. But very solid, very like good offensive guy. Knows how to play. The defensive struggles will happen, and that's why with a veteran Cam Fowler on, in terms of what we're listed here, Minchikov, he was really solid last year. He's gonna be like, kind of reminds me of like the Brock Faber, Miro Heiskanen build, like
yeah.
someone like that. Like Heiskanen's a better skater. Minchikov, once he gets going, will be
I was gonna say
unreal.
he's not there. Like Minchikov is not there yet, but this is the
Oh, he will be.
prototype for that
Yes,
player.
he'll be there. He's showed some brilliant flash. I think he kind of got fatigued by the end of last year, even though he played OHL type of minutes. And then yeah, Gudis, Dumoulin, that decor is really like, it's okay. Like it's nothing special. But if Zelly like you said, you talked about the youngster taking a jump. If Zelly takes a big jump, Minty takes a big jump too, and then those forwards I mentioned, Carlson has a big year. Cutter Gauthier has a big year. Zegras bounces back after some injury troubles last year. McTavish becomes like the man child he is.
Yeah.
It's a solid team. I think they'll compete. I think they'll have some competitive games down the stretch. The X factor for me are the goalies, which is, you could
Okay.
argue for most teams, but I really think this year especially, and it's regards to will Gibson leave? Will Lucas Dostal, who won gold medal with Czechia this year at the World Championship, he was the starting goalie for Czechia. So I think, to me, that does a lot for a goalie. You look at what happened with Mangiapane after he went to the World Championships,
Yeah.
right? He had an unreal year in Calgary, we'll talk about later. But Dostal, if he takes the reins a bit, I think it gives Pat Verbeek a lot of leash to shop around Gibson and get some big assets for him, because that's a arguably, you could argue top 15 goalie in the NHL in front of a good team. You could argue, I wouldn't say he, like, based on his stats, he's not, but put him in
He
front
might
of
just need. He might. I was gonna say he might just need a new situation. Like
100%.
there is just something to be said for just a new situation.
Yeah. I love Dostal. He's the goalie of the future in Anaheim. He's not going to be, like Vasilevsky or Shesterkin or Sorokin type, but he's a very solid goalie. He's going to be Czechia's goalie for years down the road. So why not get him in now? Look at shopping Gibson, get a decent backup back in to back up Dostal and cover him when he needs to, and then let the youngsters do their thing. I hope they compete down in February, March. I don't think they'll make playoffs, but as long as they're,
I was gonna say, is that the best case though for them? Is like if they're in the they're one of the teams that are like in the hunt graphic, like the bottom team in the hunt graphic, like
yeah,
come trade deadline.
yeah, come trade deadline, they're at least 5-10 points back. At least they're
Yeah.
within, an 8-game win streak of being in a playoff spot. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's, something. If they're playing meaningful games in March, that will be a win this year. Because by the end of January, they weren't in it. This past year, they weren't going anywhere. Yeah,
The writing was on the wall.
exactly. The writing was on the wall. And again, there's so many young defense coming up. There's so many young forwards coming up. Like the kid they drafted, Beckett Seneca, who had the iconic moment at the draft, 3rd overall. I couldn't believe drafted him. I was like, what is going on? I couldn't believe it either. But he's another kid still growing into his body. He's small now. I think he's 6'2", and that's small for this NHL. But he's gonna keep growing. He'll be a dominant force eventually. Very good, slick skill winger. Goes great with a Carlson. Goes great with a McTavish. A big center who can create space for him, right? So
Yeah.
and all these defense, Hines, Luneau, who was injured before World Juniors, people didn't see him last year. He'll be unreal this year at World Juniors if he plays. Hines was really good at World Juniors last year or 2 years ago when he played in Halifax. He was great as a shutdown guy. And then you've got, it's quite the team.
I will say my X factor is Zegras. Like
Yeah.
I really like if he can stay healthy, like and have another 65, maybe 70-point season. I don't know if he has that in him, but he showed it before. If he can be that, like that's a cool redemption story. If he can do that, get to the Four Nations, maybe even work his way like onto Team USA maybe this year. Has a really good 18 months, works his way on to Team USA at the Olympics in 2026.
That's a big stretch, but I think the U.S. team is so good on the Olympics.
It is so like that's more about like Team USA being really good, and an injury probably has to happen for him to find his way onto the team. But if he can at least have that redemption story and be a face that because he has the potential to be like the Jack. I think he has the potential to be the Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield type in terms of just like a star and like a guy that people recognize and are interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made the cover of, the NHL video game.
Yeah, he has. And again, I have my, ups and downs with Zegras. I've said this before. I've wanted him off the team because I think he's a cancer in the locker room and he brings too many distractions. But I also think Greg Cronin has kind of whipped him into shape and gotten him, figuring out how to play defense. And if he does that, and he's playing with good wingers, he's got, listed right now Vetrano and Cutter Gauthier on his line. If that holds true, those are two, NHL All-Star winger Vetrano and up-and-coming, possibly star player Cutter Gauthier. Who knows, right? Those are two big wingers that can score. Zegras feeding them the biscuit. We'll see what happens. Should be fun to see.
So there's the Anaheim Ducks talk. That was really good. Keeping it a little bit more local, I guess, in my world, we'll go with the Seattle Kraken.
Yes.
The Kraken were busy this offseason. They have a new coach. They brought in two, I don't know if you would say prominent, but two notable free agent signings, Chandler Stevenson, Brandon Montour. Dan Bilesmith's the new head coach. I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit on the Kraken, even though I don't necessarily love those contract signings. I'm kind of, liking what they're putting out there in terms of being a competitive team this year, more competitive than last year. What do you think about the Kraken?
I think the Kraken are a playoff team.
Yeah.
I really think they are. And I think it's amazing what Stanley Cup champions into your roster can do. And when you bring in two big fish, two of the bigger fish on the free agent market, again, Stamkos, Marchessault were the two biggest fish, I'd argue. They both went to one team. But Stevenson, Montour, very much up there. And again, just the center depth on this team is unreal. Beniers will bounce back. I have no I think you have to slam every single over on Beniers, whatever it looks like. Take him high in fantasy. Like, you got to do it. I think you have to, because he's going to be unreal. And when you've got a guy like Stevenson right behind him in the lineup, that's going to, create matchup problems for teams, because now you got to figure out who you put your top D against. You put him against Stevenson, you put him up against Beniers and his line. What do you do, right? So, and, again, still not a blow your socks off lineup. But again, you've got Shane Wright as your fourth line center listed right now. And this is just a very solid team. I love them. We've both talked about Montour lots on this podcast. We love Montour.
Yeah.
I think he's a great fit in Seattle. And he's gonna people are gonna love him. Stanley Cup champion. I would argue in like a top 20 defenseman in the NHL. An argument could be made.
Yeah.
Not that he is, could be made. Forsling was the best defenseman on that Florida team when they won the Cup last year. But Montour is right up there. He's just as important as Forsling in many ways. And this team looks sick.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Brandon Montour, big lax guy.
Big lax guy. Yeah. Yanni Gord's still there. He's a great player.
I like their extent. Like, I like the Beniers extension.
Yep.
I think the Larson's extension is probably an extra year too long, but like, I like Adam Larson. Like, I think he's a solid,
he's such a solid defenseman. He reminds me of Dan Girardi. And that's a kind of player you can't really replicate. It's hard to. Right?
I think and you brought up the point earlier, a really good point of like not every team, but good teams have at least 2 to 3 centers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Beniers and Stevenson. Beniers is like, I think. Would you say like Nick Suzuki? Like that's what his kind of comp is kind of like.
I would say Suzuki's better, but yeah,
I think
sort of comparable. Yeah,
that's kind of what I think Beniers is gonna profile to be, is like a Suzuki type.
yeah,
But even Nick Suzuki is still putting up like 70, almost 80 points.
yeah.
Like
That's a point. Yeah.
So like
Oh,
I think the Kraken are gonna be good. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on them being a playoff team this
yeah,
year.
I agree. Do you think? Just a question for you. Do you
Yeah.
think they name a captain this year?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I feel like I don't know who they would name. Like who would be their captain? Would it be Gord? I guess.
Right now, I'd say probably Yanni Gourde. I know he wears an A. Same with Vince Dunn. I think Adam Larson wears an A too.
Yeah, like that's why. Like that's why. Like I go between like
I don't know.
Gord. It might just be a year of like having a bunch of A's,
Yeah,
and then you give it to Beniers next year.
kind of establish a leadership group. I think they're still in a point where they're trying to figure out like a leadership group and a core. I think they're waiting for Shane Wright to do something, and I think I would call him the X factor on the Kraken this year. I think if he has a really big year and he has a huge growth year development wise, and let's say he becomes a second line center, maybe move Stevenson to the wing, or make Stevenson third line center. I think if that happens and Wright dominates like he did in the OHL, or maybe not dominate, but play a more significant role, I feel like the Kraken are like almost a guaranteed playoff team.
Well, and I felt like listening and listening to local media like discuss Shane Wright. Like it almost felt like Wright's growth was stunted a bit with like the previous regime, like at least the coaching staff. And I know, there's also like the NHL way of like, well, this guy is still, we don't have to rush him because we still have him under contract for we don't need to burn a year, Like, sure, I totally get that. But there's no reason why this guy shouldn't be in a top, on at least a fourth line spot. Like, there's no reason for this guy to be playing in Coachella Valley next season.
No, I agree. But I think being in Coachella was good because he's the guy in Coachella. He dominated in the NHL. He played right. So I think now it's the natural progression to work back up to the NHL and play more meaningful minutes. And I think he puts a lot on himself, but he's a player and he will be a good player. His ceiling is not elite 1C to me. It's a good top line center is his absolute ceiling. His floor is going to be middle six center.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that, for what you're getting is okay. Right. So,
and that's why, like, kind of like you say, if you want to move Stevenson to the wing, find a spot for Wright somewhere in that, middle six spot. Like, I think you can. I think you can make it work. They're probably not going to do it. They're probably not going to make it happen on day one. Again, whether there's injuries or, opportunity presents itself with a blending lines, who knows, whatever. But I think
he's got to prove himself. I think that's the biggest thing with all this.
Yeah.
He's got to show that he can play and he can take care of his own end, be responsible, chip in some offense, and I think eventually, slowly, he'll work his way up and we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what's gonna happen there, but he's the X factor.
But we're thinking playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. The Montour Stevenson, assuming they play the way they have in years past. Stevenson's two-time Cup champion. He's been great everywhere he's been. Montour's also been great everywhere he's been. Started as a Duck and made his way to Buffalo and then to Florida. He's been great everywhere. Had a bit of off time in Buffalo, but in a weird system. Florida, he was unreal. Kind of like almost took over the top right-hand D spot from Ekblad, I would argue. Played top 4 minutes there. He was great. Huge part of the Cup run, and now he's in Seattle. I expect him to do the same. So, yeah, Seattle's playoff team.
All right, let's go Kraken.
Let's go Kraken.
Let's shift north. Let's talk about our first Canadian team. let's talk about the Calgary Flames.
Yes.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
they've been a weird team for like, I don't know, two years now.
They're gonna be basically they had their weird second round playoff exit.
But now we like, I think we can both agree that they should be selling off assets and rebuilding.
Oh, they need to blow it up. And I think Craig Conroy has mentioned that they want to blow it up. I think, and the timing with Scotiabank being thrown in there, 27, 28, I think is the season they expect to be open. I'm pretty sure it's 27.
I think there's at least 2 more Saddle Dome seasons.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It'll be in the later 2020s where they open up Scotiabank. But I think once they do the rebuild, they get some more prospects in, they get some good picks. I really like Zane Parekh. I think that pick was really smart, really headsy, offensively minded, gifted, talented defenseman. Played for Saginaw, was huge in the Mem Cup this year. He was great. I watched some of the games. It was unreal. He's a couple years away from the NHL, but he will be there eventually. They're going to be bad. They're just going to be bad. The Flames.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bradley Gibbons, my boy, my diehard Flames fan, my buddy from Calgary. He's not going to like that, but it's the truth, and they're going to suck for a bit, but yeah.
The thing, so I think we both have the same point with the Flames of what they need to do. I think it's almost a point where they get like, I'm trying to think of how to best explain it. It gets to a point where it's so obvious to everyone else what you do that it makes your job tougher, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like Markstrom, they over the summer they got him out and they maybe got in 75 cents on the dollar. Like, but I feel like you're never gonna win those kind of trades anyway. So it kind of sets you back anyways. It's just what you can't have is just like 3 or 4 or 5 of those kind of trades where it's like a domino effect of like, well, we didn't get enough on this one, which led to us not getting enough on this trade, which led us to not getting enough on this trade, which means that you don't have like the same, turnover and skill that you would have otherwise. But
yeah, I think part of that too, I think a lot of Calgary's assets, maybe outside of Markstrom, are like their value's so low that you're not going to get a lot from them anyways. Like, I'm just looking at this lineup right now, and
Kadri, Huberdeau.
Like, the only guy I would maybe give a first round pick up for would be Kadri and Uyghur. Like, maybe. Yeah. But even then, that's a bit of a stretch too. Like, I think you brought up a good point. They gotta just be bad and be shitty for a couple years, maybe.
And understand that you're gonna have to eat some cap. Like, you're gonna have to eat some contracts. You're not going to get much value for Kadri, for Huberdeau, Rasmus Anderson.
Backlund, Rasmus Anderson, would be a good one.
I don't know that they move Backlund. Backlund, I think I don't want to say any of these guys are untradeable, but you just named Backlund captain. Like, I feel like that's a bit of a shitty move if you just trade the guy, like, within less than a year you name him captain and you still trade him.
He's a Flames lifer. I mean, he's great in that jersey. He's such a good fit on that team. Yeah, I guess so.
But it's like Uyghur, Anderson.
Mantha's there. Blake Coleman would be Coleman would be a great piece on a contending team. He'd be great.
Mantha, I was gonna say Mantha. They're gonna trade at the deadline for like
almost for sure
3rd or 4th or something, and like that's basically why they got him.
Yep, Kuzmenko's there too. Kevin Ball came over in the Markstrom trade. Jake Bean.
Kevin Ball's really big.
He is 6'7", 6'8". He's a monster.
Something that was like the one thing one thing I like heard repeatedly with Kevin Ball is that he is big. He is a tall.
He's a big dude. Yeah. So it'll be some competitive Flames, some physical Flames games for sure, and just. Like, you got Lamborghini, Ryan Lomberg, Cup champion on the 4th line. He's going to be buzzing around the ice and running through everyone. So they'll be, they're going to, They're going to be bad. I think, we talked about the Sharks' expectations. I think the only team that could be worse than the Sharks is the Flames.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm glad, like, you and I, like, this is a really tough podcast because I think you and I agree on, like, a lot of points where, like, I think the Flames could actually be, like, the
Be
worst
worse
team in
than
the
the
NHL.
Sharks. I think they are. And I
They
think,
could,
well, 'cause
they could be the worst team in the NHL this year.
they might be. And I think that would be good. Get the Flames need a high draft pick because they've been so mid for so long. Like, when was the last time the Flames had a top 5 pick? Can you even think? Can you even know?
Was Matthew Tkachuk top? I don't think Matthew Tkachuk was top 5.
Nope.
But, like,
He was sixth overall.
shit. No, it's so close. I have no
close.
idea. I have no idea.
Let's see. We're gonna do this on the fly right now. I feel like
I'll kill air for you. I'm gonna say that my Flames X factor this year, another former Sever Silvertip, Dustin Wolf. Like, the Flames goaltending this year is projected to be Vladar and Wolf, splitting 82 games. I think Wolf is good.
Yeah.
He's had really good AHL numbers. That's a lot, I feel like, to ask for a rookie goaltender to be like, to just jump in and be like, hey, we need 40 games out of you this year, if not more.
Yeah. Okay. So ready for this?
Yes.
So the last top 5 pick the Flames had was in 2014, and it was a guy that just won the Stanley Cup this year. Let's see if you get that.
Sean Monahan.
Nope. Sean Monahan was 6, but he was 2013.
Oh, Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett. And then before that, it goes even further back. It goes way. Iginla, I don't think it was even he was a first round pick, but he wasn't top 10.
I don't think the Flames have ever drafted first overall. Or am I wrong?
They've never drafted first overall. So, and before that, a lot of sixth overall picks.
That feels like the Calgary Flames franchise history. It's just 6th overall.
Yeah. So, oh wow, yeah, I'm going.
When they're good, when the Flames are good, they're the 6th best team in the league. When the Flames are bad, they're the 6th worst team in the league. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like they're never.
So, okay, in the Calgary Flames history, they have drafted in the top 5 one time.
And that one time was Sam Bennett.
So I think that says a lot. And again, you gotta blow it up. You gotta be really bad. And how you build up is you build up through the draft. And you look at. I'm just trying to think of an example where they've come to fruition. Look at Florida. 2013, they got Barkov. They got Ekblad in 2014, right? Like, these are top 2 picks, the top 5 picks, right? Huberdeau was a high pick in 2011. He's not with the team anymore, but still helped bring over Tkachuk, who was right. My point is, these high draft picks help you win Stanley Cups.
There's no rushing a rebuild. Like, I feel like that's I don't know if people are saying that, but, like, the other team to look at are, like, my Detroit Red Wings, where, like, I feel like they're also taking the long way in rebuilding, but this isn't a Detroit episode. But the point is that a rebuild doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
Like, this is a 5-year process to putting a competitive team on the ice.
Absolutely.
So I am, like, we're on the same page. I'm liking what you're saying. Start over, cut your losses. It was fun while it lasted. You guys, the Flames have some of the nicest uniforms.
They do. They're pretty nice.
They're pretty nice. All right. So, like, you don't need to change the uniforms. You just need to change the arena, and you just need to make the team good.
Overall, some pretty good uniforms in the Pacific Division. Overall,
we didn't even talk about Anaheim's new jerseys. Like, I feel like Anaheim's got some really nice.
Those are sick. I want to trade this puppy in for one of those. They're sick. I'm pumped about them. They're gonna be super nice. Get Beckett Seneca jersey. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So we I don't know if there's what the odds are, because I'm not big into the gambling thing, but, like, whatever the odds, if there's somebody, like, taking odds on, like, who's going to be drafting first overall this year, I'm sure it's maybe not a long shot, but, like, I would put money on the Flames drafting first overall this year.
Yeah, I would too. Someone out of the Pacific, Calgary or San Jose, you take your pick. Probably one of the two. I mean, there's other teams in other divisions that we go talk about, I'm sure. But yeah, I think it's going to be Calgary or San Jose. They'll be bad. So, yeah.
There you go, people. There's your Calgary Flames talk for all the Flames fans, who listen to this.
Not many.
Not many. We're not big in Calgary, which probably is a good thing. Vegas, they are the next team that we have. They had 45 wins last year. They had 98 points. Here's who I'm going to rattle off some names.
Sure.
Here's who, at least I marked down that they added this offseason.
Sure.
Zach Aston-Reese, Ilya Samsonov, Alex Holtz, Akira Schmid, Robert Hagg, Victor Olofsson, Tanner Pearson on a PTO. Here's who they lost this offseason that I wrote down and got here. They lost Logan Thompson, Anthony Manta, Jonathan Marchessault, Alex Martinez, Chandler Stevenson, William Carrier. Not loving that.
No, the Knights are really interesting. I think this they have missed the playoffs before. The Knights, they're weird. Their defense, just looking at their daily faceoff, their defense core is insane. Top 3 in the league, maybe.
Pietrangelo, Hannafin,
McNabb, Theodore.
Theodore.
Right there, you've got 1, maybe 2 guys on the Canadian Four Nations team. Maybe that's maybe a bit of a stretch, but we'll see. Like, you could argue one of them could be there. Haig and Whitecloud are a very solid third pair. Hannafin's elite, like borderline US team, maybe if he has a great year this year, great start to the year. The Knights,
the goaltending is what worries me.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. Aiden Hill's fine. He's a cup champion, yes. He's probably on the Canadian team, yes. But they, compared to the other teams in this division, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about the other team in Southern California in a little bit here, but yeah, they're super. It could go either way.
Like, I guess that's part of the, you have such a ridiculous strong D-core that you're spending more on the D-core to make your D-core really good than investing in the goaltending. Which is not
unfair. I mean, Chicago did that and they won cups, right? So
right? That's
yeah.
fine. It's not the worst strategy in the world. It's just
it works.
when it comes to the playoffs, you're kind of just hoping a guy gets lucky, I guess. But like, I don't know that I love Aiden Hill for another playoff run.
Not to beat the Oilers and the Canucks. I just don't think. I think Skinner is better than Hill. That might be a hot take, but I think Skinner's better than Hill. Demko is obviously way better than both of those guys, but it's in terms like sheer goaltending. And again, the Vegas, Eichel's great, Hurdle's good, Carlson's, their center depth is awesome. But outside of Barbashev and Stone, none of these wingers really like jump out at me as game breaking. And even Stone, like, he's injury prone. Like, he's probably missed 40 games next year. Like, it's just he's on a streak. So
he's gonna go on. He's gonna go back to LTIR, and then we're gonna do this all over again.
Yeah, but it's funny because I'm just thinking about playoff teams and who's on the bubble. The Vegas will be in the hunt. Like, I think there's no arguing that.
Yeah, my thing with Vegas is I'm really like. They had a really good first round series with Dallas last year. Like, it was really fun. It was back and forth.
Did you watch any of that series?
That was incredible. Like,
that was a war, dude.
From start to finish, like a battle. And
without a doubt,
goaltending was not the reason why Vegas lost in that series. But it's just like the slimmest is like when you get to that point when you're facing the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche, who, I don't know how people feel about Colorado now, but like with the Oilers, the Avs, the Stars, like there's just those finest of margins, right?
Yeah.
Between being good to great. And that's what separates all these teams. And maybe Hill surprises us. Maybe Hill's a .930 goalie and he crushes it and he, blows all of us away.
Not
But
likely.
that's like I'd rather make the bet on Ottinger being really good. I would rather bet on Stuart Skinner finding his game. I would rather make that bet if Demko is healthy enough that Demko can be the guy. I want to like Vegas. I want to, but it's like, ugh.
They're gonna be in a dogfight with some of those teams in the Central for that wild card spot. I don't think they're a top 3 team in this division. Well, they might be. It's hard. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think they're either in the third spot.
I was gonna say they're the third. Probably, I think they're better than LA. I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
Yes.
I think they're probably better than LA.
Yeah,
but I think that's the thing with Vegas, that it's not just good enough to make the playoffs; it's to win the cup every year. So that's where I'm coming from. Like that's where my analysis of the Knights comes from. Is like, is this team good enough to win the cup? And I just don't know that they are.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they are either, but they've done it before. A lot of that team from that cup run is still there. So you never know. I think people don't realize how big of a loss Marchessault is.
Yeah.
And Smith the year before, I think that's going to be a killer. Even though they still have great center depth, they still have great forwards. Marchessault was a very loved guy in the locker room, and that's kind of a original misfit. There's a bit of like an emotional connection there. I think that is gonna weigh on players. And again, Vegas runs a hard business, and the way Bruce Cassidy coaches, I think the guys will check out by halfway, 3/4 through the year, and they might make playoffs. I think that they should make playoffs based on their team and on paper. Do they go anywhere? They're going to have to deal with Edmonton or Vancouver at some point. And I don't think either of those teams are better down the middle, in net. I think both Oilers and Canucks are better, all those places, than the Knights. So playoff team, but likely not going anywhere.
But again, it's not good enough for Vegas to just make the playoffs.
Agreed. Yep.
Like that. We'll see. Who knows? Could be wrong. The LA Kings, speaking of teams with new uniforms.
Yes. Also, again, something about all these Pacific Division got great uniforms. The Kings went back to their 1990s roots when Gretzky and Robitaille were lighting up the NHL, and Marty McSorley had illegal sticks. Great jerseys, dude. Great. These are sick. Like, again, I'm not supposed to like them because I'm a Ducks fan, but you have to respect the jerseys, and you got to respect Robitaille.
I was gonna say they are they are an upgrade over their previous jersey, like 1,000%.
I agree.
What's next for the LA Kings? Like we've seen this story. We've seen they've run it back turbo like 3 years in a row now, and it's gotten nowhere for them.
They're not beating the Oilers this year either. They're gonna probably see them in the playoffs again. They beat them this year. Like, it's not gonna happen. The Kings are interesting. It kind of feels like, how Pittsburgh's kind of got that last hurrah with Crosby and Crosby and Malkin and Letang. I'm getting the same vibes from this team here. A little bit.
There's definitely if we don't win this year, or we don't do well enough this year, then we're making massive changes. And I don't know who is, we saw obviously PLD, that didn't work out. They tried to bring him in, didn't go well.
Yeah.
I don't know who else is really gonna be Byfield and Kopitar are not going anywhere.
Nope. I don't think Kempe's going anywhere.
I don't think anybody is dumb enough to take the Drew Doughty contract.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know what the chess moves are here for the LA Kings to be a successful team in the Pacific. Like, they need to improve their goaltending. Yes, I don't know that Darcy Kemper is the answer, but like they definitely need to improve their goaltending.
It's an upgrade from past years, I think.
Upgrade from Talbot.
And here's the thing: if Kemper stays healthy, that's the big factor. If he's not, then we have big problems in LA in terms of goaltending, and that to me is the difference between them being a playoff team and not. Is that can they get a healthy goalie or someone in their system to come up and be a better goalie? I don't know. I don't know if it's possible. We'll see.
Because I don't know what they're not better than Edmonton. I don't think they're better than Vancouver. They're not better than Vegas.
They're not better than Seattle either.
Like that's just it. Like they feel closer to like the Seattle, to where Seattle and Calgary finished last year. The Kings feel closer to that than they do to like being a 100, 110 point team.
Yeah, I agree. They're gonna be one of those with Seattle, Vegas, and these Kings here. I think they're all three of those teams are gonna fight for 2 spots. Realistically, maybe they'll all 3 get in, depending on how weak the Central is. But I don't know. One thing for me with Kopitar and Doughty in the lineup. Never sleep on the Kings. It's kind of like the Penguins I talked about. Crosby and Letang and Malkin are there. Never count them out. I think
it's the New England Patriots with Brady and Gronk.
Almost, yeah. And again,
you're just not just don't bet against them.
I wouldn't. I mean, Kopitar is not who he was when they won cups, but he's still a very good first line center. Doughty, I would argue, is still elite, but because he plays in LA and he plays on a not great team anymore, his like quality isn't there like it used to be.
He's also way overpaid. Like he's making
that's 11. A given. That's a given, but it's also
no, but he's making 11 or 12, which is
11 million.
Which is like Darnell Nurse egregious. Like I think
I would way rather have Doughty than Nurse in a heartbeat. Even at Doughty's contract.
Doughty had a better. I was gonna say this might be like recency bias because I feel like Doughty had a good year this past year.
He did.
And so like okay, sure, but like Doughty, I don't love him at 11. I don't know what team. The only team I could see if shit really hits the fan, I could see Drew Doughty going to Toronto. If there's your hot take.
Oh my! Did you just say that?
Yeah, I think if shit really hits the fan, I think he's got like no movement or like no trade, so I think he has to let it happen. Which I think
I don't think he's going to LA. I don't think he's leaving LA. To be honest, I doubt it. I doubt it. Hello. There's no way he's leaving LA, dude. Like, no.
So the Kings are missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I think if I have Seattle in, I think the Kings are out. But it's going to be really close between those 3, and I'm going to throw the Knights in there too.
Who's also their coach? Like, didn't they retain the guy that like that isn't like? Didn't they retain the guy like that isn't liked or like didn't do a good like basically got out coached pretty easily by Edmonton?
Well, they had Todd McClellan.
Yeah, but they fired him, and then they brought in like the interim coach who was not good. But they kept the interim coach who was not good, if I remember correctly. If I remember. Is it Hillier?
Let's see.
He used to coach the Ducks, I think, or was it part of the Anaheim organization? I feel like at one point. Anyways,
Jim Hiller.
There you go.
Jim Hiller, Kings coach, hired by Rob Blake. Oh, did you hear that story about Rob Blake going on the ice with PLD? Did you hear about that?
I did hear that story.
Unbelievable. So, do you want to start that story?
Go. You go ahead.
Viewers, I'm sure people heard about this because this kind of broke hockey internet. Rob Blake, who is Hall of Fame defenseman or about to be Hall of Fame defenseman,
pretty close.
Anyways,
I think
legendary defenseman, played for the Kings for a long time, maybe a few other teams. he is the general manager of Los Angeles. And through last year, they made the playoffs, but kind of had some struggles through the year. Locker room cancer Pierre-Luc Dubois, who is now in Washington, he had some issues with work ethic and compete on the ice. So nothing was working. Coaches weren't getting through to him. Todd McClellan, Jim Hiller couldn't get through to him. So Rob Blake takes his suit off, puts his skates back on, and is on the ice. GM on the ice. Not a joke, people. With Pierre-Luc Dubois, getting him to do something, to compete. I don't know what he did. You can't really teach compete. And as a hockey coach, it's hard to teach compete and will and drive. You kind of just have it or you don't, or you
I
learn
feel
it.
like I feel like there should be enough of a shock level of like, holy fuck, that my GM is on skates right now trying to like teach me something. I should probably pay attention.
Yeah, like, and again, Rob Blake, highly respected defenseman, played well over 15 years in the NHL. He's a heck of a player. If I was Pierre-Luc Dubois, I'd listen to every word that guy says.
Yeah.
You just do. You have to. But apparently didn't, and that's why he got shipped to Washington and they got a goalie in return. So, I mean, yeah, shocking stuff out of LA, but I don't know. It just seems like Kopitar is not the same. If he's gonna, I think, take another slight drop this year. They're not a playoff team. It's gonna be close, but they're not a playoff team.
The Kings are a team like I want to root for because I think the
Yeah.
Kings are fun when they're good.
Also, big market Los Angeles. Playing on
Big market lot,
right?
Well, it's really tough, like for the NHL. Like, not that it doesn't matter to us, but like it's really tough for the NHL where like your good West Coast teams are Vancouver, Edmonton, and that does not help draw interest in the U.S. Like Seattle will you got Vegas, I guess. Vegas and Seattle, I guess, are kind of it should be better this year.
Yeah.
Vegas is always interesting, but
well, I think the beauty of all this is that, now the Kings are kind of tapering back a little bit. The Sharks and the Ducks are, they're on the rise. Like, they got some young studs. Celebrini's there. The Ducks have all the young pieces there, young extend core. Like, I think it's shifting away. The focus is shifting away from the Kings and back to those teams in terms of, Southern California focus, I guess, West Coast American viewers. Vegas is still Vegas. Like, obviously, they're Cup champions 2 years ago. So they're unreal, and they're still a good team. They're still got some good pieces. Eichel's a great player. Eichel's a superstar in the league, right? So yeah, it's shifting, but I agree. The Kings are kind of on the back nine of their like prime. Yeah, on the way down, on the descent.
with this core, like it's going. Things feel like they're going to be worse before they get better.
I agree. Yep. So
all right, we got two more teams, Canadian teams. Edmonton Oilers.
Yes. Wow.
So they got one guy re-signed this offseason. His name is Leon Draisaitl.
That's a big one. And I think the Chicklets guys said it, not to, plug in the podcast, but the Chicklets guys said it best. I think this keeps McDavid in an Oilers jersey for a long time. Because Draisaitl is willing to stay and sign there. I think it keeps McDavid there too. This is a heck of a team.
So my biggest, I guess, gripe, as it always seems to be with the Oilers, is defense.
Of course.
Defense. I think Skinner will be fine.
Yep.
They don't have to. You don't have to. Well, I was gonna say you don't have to worry about Jack Campbell now. Like that's over and done with. That's a sideshow. That all right, it's over. We don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
You obviously have McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't know if they're putting Evander Kane on the LTIR.
Yes, he's on IR right now. I think he's gonna be there for a while. Which, when he's actually healthy, he's very effective and he's great in the top 6, even in the top 9. To be honest, he might be like just looking at this top 6. I don't know where he goes. I think he's a top 9 guy.
I hope they trade him because I think he's an asshole, but like that's also just me.
Yeah, but he's a good player and the guys there like him. I think he's got, McDavid and Draisaitl kind of whipped him into shape, and he figured his life out, and I don't know. But like, I'm gonna list off the top six. Where do you put him here? You've got your first line, you got Nuge, McDavid, and Hyman. You've seen that before. And your second line, you've got two new additions, Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson, centered by Leon. Where does he go?
So probably I feel like it's the bottom six role for him.
I agree.
Like, he might get some power play minutes, but like,
yep,
we'll see. Hyman's not scoring 50 goals again.
But let me ask you this. Oh, sure, I don't disagree. But do you think Jeff Skinner scores 30 this year?
That was my follow up of like, what does Jeff Skinner look like on a good team?
Jeff Skinner 29.5. Do you take the over? Yes or no?
I'm probably hitting the under on that. I need to see it to believe with Jeff Skinner on a good team.
Yeah, dude, he's playing Draisaitl.
Can you keep up with Draisaitl?
Yes. Have you seen that guy skate?
I haven't seen him in a while. So this might be the other thing I saw was announced NHL ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm pretty sure I saw fastest. I might need you to kill some airtime for me, but I'm pretty sure. Oh no, here it is. Fastest players. Okay, here we go. Fastest players in NHL 25. All right.
Sure.
Connor McDavid, 96 overall.
For skating speed?
Yeah, for skating speed. Excuse me, 96.
Is it speed or is it just skating? It might just be skating overall.
This is These are the fastest skaters.
Okay. So McDavid. Yep. Not surprised.
McDavid and McKinnon are both 96s. Point, Makar, Barzell, 95s.
Yep. Also checks out. Yeah, no, that's right.
Miro Heiskanen, Owen Tippett, Rope Hintz, and Ryan McLeod are 94 overall. 94 fastest skaters.
Is Owen Tippett fast?
I have no idea. Like, I feel like this is.
I mean, he's a heck of a player, but wow. Okay, I guess.
I feel like I just saw that. I just saw that today, and I'm like, I feel like you could put anybody in like those ratings of like, here are the fastest NHL players, and it's like Lucas Raymond. It's like, sure, okay.
I don't disagree. I think you're the point of this was getting the Ryan McLeod in, who's now been traded to Buffalo, for top prospect Matt Savoy, I might add, who's gonna be a heck of a player. I'm very high on Savoy. I'm very high on Savoy. He might even be on the team this year, maybe. The Oilers are loaded, but we'll see.
I'm also really high. My point is that I'm curious to see. I think Arvidsson of all the guys that they added this offseason, Arvidsson's probably my favorite because I think Arvidsson is like a steady, solid, level-headed guy that I think
top six winger. Yep, I agree.
Top six winger, like that's a guy who will fit. I don't think Hyman will score as many goals this year. I don't think the Nuge will score as many goals this year.
Nugent's well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't think. I'm curious with Skinner. I need to see it to believe it. I think the decor is which, you know what? This is the Edmonton Oilers. Who gives a shit? They're going to play 6-5 games all the time. That's just who they are. If you don't like it, put up or shut up.
Like, you say that, though, but I also think that they now know how to get to the cup, and they know they need to play 2-1 games. And they show they can do it. Some of the games in the playoffs were 2-1. Look at the Canucks series. That was brutal. That was a hell of a series, but they were some of those games were brutal, and most of those games weren't more than 3 goals for one of the teams. Right?
I feel like I don't want to sound like a nerd or like one of the big analytics guy, but I feel like the Oilers' way of playing is not sustainable. But I also feel like I've been saying this for like the last 2 or 3 years. So like I don't think it really matters. I think it just matters that you have McDavid and Draisaitl, and like they'll take you as far as they can, and that's how far you can go.
I compare the Oilers. Look at Pittsburgh and look at Chicago. Those models, you have elite offensive players. You've got a couple good defense, like Ekman Bouchard. That's a great D pair.
Yes.
Right, and again, we'll see what Ty Emerson can do on a good team. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. The Broberg, and again, we didn't talk about the offer sheets yet. The Broberg loss is huge. I think, and I talked about this, maybe not with you, Ian, but with others. I think if they could bring one of those guys back, it would be Broberg. And I love
Yeah.
what he did in the third and fourth round of the cup of the Stanley Cup run. He was great. He showed flashes of, okay, you actually were drafted 8th overall, and you are becoming what you should be, which was great to see. Having said that, both guys were a huge loss.
I was gonna say I'm a big Holloway guy. Like I really
Yeah.
as much as what you said about Broberg, which is true. I like Holloway for what he brings, and like I feel like, but I feel like you could also find a Dylan Holloway.
He's easier to replace than Broberg, and I think they did that. I think they replaced Holloway really well with the additions they made, with Skinner, with Arvidsson. You can even throw like Savoy. I would argue Savoy is a more highly touted and highly rated prospect than Holloway, and he's younger.
And I think the Podkolzin acquisition is also like, I feel like he could be a fourth liner. Like I feel like if you just tell him like, hey, just go be a fourth liner, just go be a menace.
Yeah, but Vasily Podkolzin has the skill and the dominance. He's done it before to be a top 9 winger. He could. He might. Him and Janmark might switch. Might. But again, when Kane comes back, like Janmark probably goes to the fourth and Podkolzin's out. But again, some competition in that lineup is not a bad thing, and it keeps the Oilers on their toes and keeps them going. So.
And you get Podkolzin in there, let's say 20 to 30 games this year, just rotating him in, just like being like a fresh body and being a menace. I like that for him.
He's good forechecker, plays physical. I like it. Yeah, the Oilers. Do you think they go back to the Cup?
I do not.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna say they do. I'm very high on these Oilers. I think they'll at least get back to the second round. I think almost for sure.
Yes,
Get back to the second round.
I'm trying to think. I like Dallas more than Edmonton. I think. I don't. I really want to like Colorado, but the whole like Colorado's weird with Landeskog.
Landeskog and Nichushkin are the two. Yeah, those are. That's. I'm sure you'll talk about that in another podcast. But those two guys, yeah, it's a big X factor with those. Those are two of their best wingers, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. So I just don't. Part of me is also I'm a bit of a hater because like I just don't think it's how you build. I don't think the Oilers are just how you build an NHL team.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But like the funny thing is that I don't know if it's just the Ken Holland hater in me, but like whoever was running it between Ken Holland and when they announced Stan Bowman, which I don't love them hiring Stan Bowman back to be GM, but that's a whole different conversation.
Oh, like Jeff Jackson, the CEO?
Yeah, well, whoever was making all the player decisions, like whoever signed Skinner, whoever signed Janmark, like whoever or not Janmark, whoever signed Arvidsson, like all of those like are just feel like high ceiling, low risk moves of like that's what the Oilers should be doing instead of giving out the big deal to Evander Kane, instead of giving out the big deal to Darnell Nurse. Like I feel like for what you should be paying McDavid and Draisaitl, just throwing some, you're signing 5 guys to, not league min, but like above league min, and 3 of those guys pan out, great. Like the Jack Campbell signing was just not a good signing.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But I think that's why you've got a Ty Emberson in your line. You've got Troy Stetcher there. You've got
Troy
Stetcher, yeah. Like some, like you said, these 3 to 5 guys on small contracts that, hopefully a couple of them pan out. We'll see. It's going to be interesting in Edmonton for sure. I think they're for sure a playoff team.
Yeah.
They should get to the second round. It'll be a huge disappointment if they don't get past the second round. Third or fourth round or bust, I would say, for the Oilers here.
I think it's winning the cup. I think it's the expectation this year.
Probably now, yeah. Yeah, they should win the cup in the next 5 years.
Like okay, so in terms of like the top, like I think I would say Dallas and Colorado are they in like the top tiers of the West, and then like maybe even just Dallas, and then Colorado, Vancouver, Edmonton.
I would put all 4 in one group, to be honest.
In
I
one
think
group?
they're
Okay.
all 4 are in this upper echelon of, okay, here are the 4 teams in the West that you got to deal with in the playoffs. You have to beat at least 2 of them to get to the cup final. Like, you just do.
Yeah.
So it's, we'll see what happens. It's going to be one of those 4 coming out of the West this year. So
speaking of which, so let's throw it over to Vancouver then. Let's throw it over to Vancouver, British Columbia in the 604 area code.
yes, the Vancouver Canucks.
So they overachieved last year,
without a doubt, but with a big asterisk. But I think they're legit.
I was gonna say, so your big asterisk of like they're probably not 110 points, but like they're probably a 100-point team again.
Oh, they might be a 110-point team. I am a huge fan of Rick Tocchet and what he did for that team.
Yeah. Yes.
And you get, again, their additions are good. They are. I think Zadorov's a big loss, but again, you've kind of replaced him in Forbort and Desharnais, and you get a full year of a whole nother year of Tocchet's system. These players buy in. They're a really tight group. Again, assuming everyone does what they're supposed to. PD was not good last year in many stretches. He had he was okay. He was not PD of old.
He's not the PD that we all think that he can be and that he should be.
No, JT Miller was elite. He basically last year alone played himself onto the U.S. Olympic team or U.S. Four Nations team alone, and you should take Besser with him because that's just an elite duo. Those two, whoever you put riding shotgun with those two, Hoagland or DeBrusk, who is a great new ad. If you put Dan Heinen up there, who knows? I don't know who you're gonna put up there. You take your pick. I think Hoaglander makes the most sense on that line, but that's up. We'll see. Pedersen, DeBrusk maybe will help him space him out and give him more chances to shoot and score. PD needs a big year. He's due for a big year. I like the Canucks. Quinn Hughes is elite. Is beyond elite.
I know he won the North this year, but he still probably doesn't get enough respect as to how good he actually is.
It's how he controls the play. Yes, defensively, maybe he's not or physically dominant as a Makar or Heiskanen, but it's his control of the game. He's like
his edge work is incredible. His skating is incredible. Dude. His plays with the puck I've never seen anybody make. Maybe McDavid. Like the only other guy, like I've never seen it from a defenseman. I've never seen a defenseman be able to make the plays that Hughes can make from the back end in terms of a breakout, in terms of finding the guy, of making a pass, setting somebody up.
And he's I think how that leadership group is, and like I mentioned this off the top, they're a very tight group. Their leadership core has been together for a while now. They're super well built as a team. Again, you talked about how you build a cup team. I think this is the formula. Again, the Oilers should and probably will win the cup at some point. That's one way to do it. But this is the other way. You start with your goalie. You've got Demko, who, again, his health is a major question mark.
Yeah, that's the X factor for
ignore, if you want listeners, ignore everything else we said. If Demko is not healthy, this team doesn't win the cup.
Yeah.
Listen, as good as Shelovs has been and will be this year, probably again.
And as funny as he was to watch, like I think it's just unrealistic to ask him to potentially go 4 rounds if you have to.
Absolutely. He could do it again. He brought that Latvia national team a long way in the World Championships a couple years ago, right? So that experience there, again, we talked about World Championship experience earlier with Dostal in Anaheim. Same thing here with Shelovs. But again, ultimately Demko is the guy, and assuming he's healthy for playoffs, he's the one. He's the number one goalie, and we'll see. Miller is going to be Miller. Besser hopefully does what he does last year, or even if it's a little drop off, he's still 30 goal guy. That's all you can ask for him. we'll see what the new guys, DeBrusk, Sprong, and Heinen do. I like the decor. Quinn Hughes, he's the guy, and Hronek's a good pair with him. The other four are just big physical monsters who play good defense and are solid. Say what you want about Myers. He had a great year last year under Tocchet. Soucy's really good. I've always liked his game. He's got a bit of offensive kick to his game as well. Forbort and Darnay are both great. Darnay went to the Cup last year, so has some experience with that. I like this team a lot. They're at least a second. Again, same with it's going to be Canucks and Oilers. You take your pick. Who's going through to the third round? It's going to be one of those two teams for sure.
There's a possibility it's a Canucks Kraken first round series.
Yeah, that'd be great to imagine. Well, I've battled. Travel would be great. You can almost bus between the cities.
Pretty much, yeah. I like the team. I'm with you of like they should win a round. That's the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
You said it earlier. The impact that Tocchet has had cannot be understated. It's been incredible. He's made that team look legit, and at the same time too, it's also the Vancouver Canucks. I hope it goes well because I know there's a lot of people who root. I know a lot of people who root for the Canucks and love the Canucks, but it's also the Canucks.
Yeah, fair enough.
The series. Sorry, go ahead.
Ultimately, in just as like who I want to win, it's not gonna be. I'll be real. My Ducks aren't gonna win the Cup this year. It's likely gonna be one of. Well, I know, right? Good one.
Yeah.
It's gonna likely be one of these two teams we just talked about, either Vancouver or Edmonton. One of those two teams, in my opinion, will go to the Cup final. It's going to be that situation for a couple years. I think whoever comes out of this division will go to the Cup final. Dallas, again, Central Division, we'll talk about them at some point, but I really like either of these teams coming out of the West again. So
I love Dallas. But again, that Vancouver Edmonton series last spring was so fun.
It was one of the best ones, and just again the vibe and the atmosphere around Vancouver and Edmonton both. It was crazy out here. It was insane.
The chaos of it was that's what we strive for. We love.
It was unreal. Yeah,
we love the chaos of series like that.
We got to get Vancouver Mayor back on board with the outdoor watch parties in Vancouver, but we'll see about how that goes. So
yeah, thanks a lot, Trudeau. Right? No. Do we think so? Is Vancouver making the playoffs? It's basically you think it's either them or Edmonton going to the Cup Finals.
Yep. Vancouver in playoffs for sure. I think they'll probably win the division. Again, so I'm gonna say, do you want to do rankings now, top to bottom?
Yeah, let's do some rankings. So let's go. Go first.
I'll go top to bottom. I got Vancouver 1, Edmonton 2, Vegas 3, Seattle 4. Los Angeles 5. Whether the Kings make playoffs or not really depends on what happens in the Central. We've got Anaheim 6. We've got San Jose 7 and Calgary 8 in the bottom of the.
All right, because I'm a little different. I have Edmonton 1. I have Vancouver 2. I have Vegas 3. I have LA 4. I have Seattle 5.
Do both make playoffs? Both of those teams.
Yeah.
Tough one.
We talked about it. I said that Seattle is going to make the playoffs, so at least Seattle will make the playoffs. I'm not so sure. Seattle will make the playoffs. LA, I don't think will.
So then you flip them. So Seattle 4, LA 5.
Oh, Seattle 4. Seattle 4, LA 5. Excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry, you can tell about it. It's been a long day here.
Bedtime.
So yes, I'm gonna go with Anaheim 6. I'll go Calgary 7, San Jose
8. Okay, there you go. Very similar.
So we got 5 mailbag questions. We'll try and get through them as quickly as we can here. First question: do you have a point projection for Jake DeBrusk this season?
Are we allowed to see who asked them, or are we keeping that anonymous?
I'm keeping them anonymous. I did
Okay.
it for the last podcast, and I'm doing it for this podcast.
Keep it professional. I like it. Jake DeBrusk. I'm gonna set the over/under for Jake at 45. Oh no, because he's with Patterson. 49 points. 49.5 over.
I was gonna hit the over because I was gonna say that Jake DeBrusk is scoring 69 points this year. But he's probably. I think DeBrusk will get 60.
Okay, I like it. I think I'm taking a slight over on the 49.5. He'll be in the 50-point range. I think, especially if he plays with PD all year. If he doesn't, I would be hesitant to go that high, but we'll see.
30 goals out of Jake DeBrusk this year?
Not out of the question. I think I have Besser for sure going to get 30 goals. Jake 25. I think 20 is very doable. 25 is probably more like it, but we'll see.
I'll go with a comedic relief question here. If Radko Gudas becomes captain of the Ducks, does he deserve an 8-year contract?
Yes, obviously. Like, of course, dude. Have you seen that? Dude, I love his game. He is so good on that team. He threw a strike, like a legit strike at the Angels game. Did you see that? It was so good.
I did not see that. Like where was he standing? Was he standing actually on the mound, or is he standing
on the mound? Yeah, on the mound. Pretty sure it was on the mound. Yeah. He's a big boy. Former Silvertip. You should know this.
I know. Yeah, it's multi-sport athlete. Radko
He's
Gudas.
a player. I would love to see an ex-Silvertips deep pair Zellweger and Gudas. Imagine, like, what a great tandem there. Like, all offense from Zellweger and just bone-crushing hits from Gudas.
The old generation and the new generation.
Yeah.
Is Fowler going to be the new captain in Anaheim?
No, I think it's going to be. I don't know if Fowler's going to be the captain. Like, it really should go to one of the young guys, I think, and let them grow with it. Whether you give it to McTavish, whether you give it to Gauthier, whether you give it probably not Gauthier this year if they're going to give it to him. I've always liked McTavish for it, but he's kind of got to earn it more this year. I don't know if Carlson's made for it. I will see. I don't know. I always see, like, down the road, if Tristan Luneau pans out like he's talked about panning out, I could see him fitting that role really well. I think McTavish. And if you give it to Gudas for a couple of years, great. I don't think Fowler's going to be the captain, but I could be wrong.
But he's going to get an 8-year contract. They're gonna do it together, like in the same press conference or
Yeah, be like a Forsling type contract, like a 8-year contract at $4 million, like super friendly, cap friendly team.
And at the same time, they're announcing he is the new captain of the Anaheim Ducks. Who said no?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Third question. Do we have a leading scorer prediction for each team in the Pacific?
Do I have to say the point total or just the player?
I think if you want to be ambitious, you can go point total, but I think it's.
I'll just go player.
Edmonton's McDavid.
Yep, I agree.
Vancouver, I think it's probably Miller. Again.
I'm gonna be different and say Pettersson because I think he's gonna explode this year.
You know what? I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna say Quinn Hughes.
I don't hate that, actually. I don't hate that. Little Roman Yossi element. Yeah, I like that, actually. I don't mind that at all.
So Hughes for Vancouver. I said McDavid for Edmonton.
Okay. Let's be real. It's probably Miller on the Canucks, but I like both our wildcard picks. Edmonton, McDavid for sure. Vegas, I'm going to say Eichel.
It feels like Eichel.
It's got to be Stone's, who else?
Stone's not healthy enough.
Nope.
I don't like
Eichel for sure. Hurdle's not offensively dominant like Eichel is. I think Eichel for sure. And Eichel's the trigger man on the power play. Eichel.
So we're both with Eichel. I think Seattle. Do we think Beniers with Seattle?
I was gonna say Beniers or Stevenson. I think Beniers is his third year now. He's sophomore slump is out of his way. He's gonna explode this year. Beniers for sure.
I'm trying to think if there's any like.
Don't say Montour. Don't do it.
No, I was
good.
thinking like Gord's not good enough offensively.
No.
Is Jordan Everly still on the Kraken?
He is the first line right winger with him and Jared McCann, with Beniers and McCann, sorry.
Yeah, I'll say Beniers. I don't know if
Okay.
I like any of those other guys. Los Angeles.
Kopitar. Hold on. Kempe.
I'll say Byfield.
Imagine what a year that would be for that guy. Holy shit.
I love Byfield. Like I think he's
so do I.
legit.
That goal he scored against Columbus, stupid.
So,
The
so
one
you,
where,
you said,
yeah, stupid goal.
well, I was gonna say you said Kempe.
I said Kempe. Yeah, Kempe for sure.
Yeah, Kempe.
I had him in
Byfield.
fantasy last year. He did wonders for my team, so I'm gonna go with my boy Adrian Kempe.
Ride the hot hand. Anaheim. This is where it kind of gets fun because it could be like so many like different.
There could be like, it's funny. There could be 7 guys and 2 of them are defensemen. I'm gonna say Leo Carlson.
I'm going to say. I'm gonna bet on my guy Trevor Zegras.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh no. But I did
What if Trevor Zegras like leads the team in scoring, but it's like 50 points?
Yeah, that's a tough look, isn't it? That's not out of the question though.
That's what I'm saying is that like who's the I'm trying to think of like who's the 2013 version of like Tyler Bozak who like has a real opportunity to be like leading scorer on an awful team.
Nazem Kadri in Calgary?
For Calgary, Kadri.
Yeah, what a segue. Yeah, Nazem Kadri for Calgary.
I don't know who else it would be for like Calgary, like
Huberdeau? Like maybe
sorry.
he's like, I mean, Huberdeau's had some tough years, but I wouldn't put 70 points past him.
We didn't really talk about Huberdeau. Do we think he's like washed? Like, is he actually like gone? Like, is he done, or is it?
Yeah, yes and no. He's 2011 draft.
Is it Jover?
I mean, he's 30. I think he's 31 or 32. He's 2011 draft, so he's in his 30s for sure. And again, when you don't play with you're an elite playmaker, you don't play with guys that can score. It's hard. Like Huberdeau had 115 points that year, but he played with Barkov. He played with Verhaeghe, who had almost 50 goals that year. Like, good players. Whereas he's just not getting the same quality of players on his line. As good as Backlund is, he's not a 40 goal scorer. Like, forget it. So, washed-ish, I think is my answer there. He's not great. I'll give you that.
But you got Kadri as the leading scorer for Calgary this year?
Over Huberdeau for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Huberdeau's going to bounce back. If he does, obviously Huberdeau will probably lead the team, but Kadri is the safer pick, and I'm going to go with that.
In my heart, I kind of want to go with Huberdeau because I think he would that would be a cool story. But I also don't know that Huberdeau is going to finish the year in Calgary. I wonder if there's some team that takes a shot at Huberdeau, but that also might be an off-season thing.
Knowing Montreal, what they've done this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Montreal.
My fun pick is going to be Mackenzie Weegar, I think.
Ooh, hey, I like it. San Jose, I'm going to say Macklin Celebrini lead the team in scoring.
Good pick. That's a fun pick.
It's a fun pick.
I'm gonna be chalk and probably take the Foley.
Foley, yeah. You'll probably be the leading goal scorer.
What do we think? Do we think like 50 combined goals for Foley and Celebrini this season?
Oh, I would say that would be if you make that the over under, I hammer the over in that.
Yeah, like I would. 55, 60 between the two of them.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. Again, I think 25 goals for both those guys is definitely in reach and doable. Toffoli's not a guaranteed 30 goal scorer, but considering how much power play time he's going to get, he'll probably have half the team's power play goals. So that's 12 to 15 goals right there. And then he's an elite shooter. I'd say elite shooter. So another 15 right there, and there's 30. So yeah, I'd say 30 for Toffoli, and then at least 20 for Macklin Celebrini. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay. All right. Good segment. Good segment.
We're gonna watch this back in like a few months and either love our picks or it's like that
I
Hughes one
can't.
might kill you. I won't lie.
I'm going on. I'm making some big bets with like Hughes, Zegras,
Chris, yeah,
Byfield.
Yeah, that was another one too. Yeah, so but
two,
bold, but I like it.
Two more. Can the Flames make the playoffs? Don't say no. Well, if you've listened at this point, all the way this long to hear us answer your question,
I'm gonna say they will make the playoffs in 6 years.
There you go.
Not saying they will make playoffs, but they will make the playoffs in 6 years when they were in there.
The Flames make the playoffs this year if like they get a good goalie, if they get like 3 scorers and 3 really good defensemen. That's how the Flames make the playoffs this year. And other than that, I don't.
The Flames make the playoffs if they trade Zane Parekh for TJ Ginla, and TJ Ginla lights up Calgary.
Yeah, basically they get TJ Ginla if they get basically a Ginla. I feel like there's a Lang cow. I definitely remember there being a Lang cow somewhere in junior
and
hockey.
Maybe Craig Conroy comes out of the press box and puts his skates back on.
Yeah, and like Mika Kiprusoff isn't doing anything, so they bring him in to stop some pucks.
Yeah, is Dion Phaneuf still on the team? He's good, right? He's still good.
Yeah, Dion Phaneuf. He was on the cover. NHL 09 that he was on the cover.
It was something in the I don't remember exactly.
The 15 years ago. Anyways, no, the Flames are not making the playoffs this year.
No, not a chance.
Final question: when is the Utah team going to get a name?
Ooh. Well, based on what the PWHL did with their team names, it took them a year. So gave them like a good year to like come up with names, and I'm sure we can talk about the names of those teams down the road at some point.
Do you have a favorite of the PWHLs?
Yeah, I think the Boston Fleet was pretty sick.
Oh, I went with Montreal. I love Montreal.
Oh, okay, sorry, you're sorry. I think the logo of Montreal is my favorite, but the name and how the
design of it,
I think Boston Fleet is cooler. But the Montreal like the logo,
I think that kicks ass.
I'm like, and those jerseys, like the colorway with those jerseys, like it's like that matte beige kind of with like the reddish and like the very very cool.
It's like an off-white kind of.
Yes, yeah, I called it matte beige. What the fuck is that? But yeah. Sure. Let's go off-white. I like it.
I think you're right though. Is that I think it's next year is when they're supposed to actually have a team.
Yeah, I think give them the year, get them settled in Utah, get them just playing the games. Because again, it also very quick transition. It wasn't like the whole moving to Utah thing was like years in the making. It was kind of sudden-ish. Basically, a deal didn't get done in Arizona, and
sucks to suck, Coyotes.
Yeah, but it sounds like Bettman wants a team back in Arizona, so we'll see.
I think there'll be a team back in Arizona, and I think there should be a team back in Arizona.
Yep. There will be at some point, but that's down the road.
I don't know about you. I don't know that I like any of the Utah names that I've heard so far. I think they're all shite.
Well, it should be the Grizzlies, but there's a damn ECHL team with it, so that's too bad. But I'd be okay with the Blizzard.
Get a Dairy Queen sponsorship in there.
It's easy plug. Yeah, makes sense. I guess the Blizzard would be okay. Some of the other ones are weird.
Can I segue, because this is a really fun segue and this is a really good story that I want to tell.
Sure.
So Brandon Coop is now doing dub games, right?
Yes, I know him and his brother both. Yep.
I know Corey was, but I saw Brandon not that long ago. And do you remember when we were leaving the Dairy Queen in Squamish and we ran into Brandon, who was leaving Mountain Fitness?
Oh my God, that was so long ago.
That was during the pandemic. So anyway, so basically, listeners, we went to Dairy Queen for something. I think we got lunch or something there. I don't know. We were hanging out. This was like during the pandemic, and basically the Dairy Queen in Squamish, where we were at the time, is not right across the street, but it's in the same area as a gym, as like one of the big gym in town, right? So basically, you have to get out of the Dairy Queen to exit the drive-through. You kind of have to go through their lot and then back out onto the road and whatever. It's kind of weird. But Brando Coop was driving, I guess, towards the Dairy Queen as we were going towards Mountain Fitness. He was leaving the gym. We were leaving Dairy Queen. We passed each other and ran into Brandon. Hey, Brandon, how's it going? You know, good to see you. And Brandon's like, oh, what have you guys been doing? And we're like, oh, you know, we just got back from Dairy Queen. We just had lunch there. And because I guess the Dairy Queen was fairly new at the time too, right?
Very new at the time, yeah.
And
Might have been
so,
yeah.
And so, like, I got like chicken tenders. I don't know. You got something, I think.
I don't think I got anything, to be honest, but
probably not. But like, point is, Brandon was like, "You got food at Dairy Queen? That's like getting a kiss in a whorehouse."
Oh.
And we both just start laughing. It's like, yeah, kinda.
Oh,
it's like,
no. That's
all
bad.
right, boys. Well, good to see you. Good to say hi. And now Brando's
a double official.
I don't know if I can
think
say
he
that,
does
but
Dairy Queen anymore. What's that?
No, I don't think he does Dairy Queen.
Not anymore.
I think he's moved on from Dairy Queen. He probably still goes to Mountain Fitness. I'm sure they like when he's in town.
Probably when he's in town, yeah, probably. I saw actually it's funny you said I saw his brother and his dad today at the course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're doing good. Yeah, they're both double official. They're stoked, so it'll be fun to get, hopefully they both get a game together and we can get out and watch them. Maybe they'll be in Victoria for a game. I don't know. See what happens.
We'll see. But that's my Brandon Coop story. What were we talking about? Utah. Utah's gonna get a name in New Jersey's next year.
Next year, Blizzard. I hope it. I mean, obviously, it can't be the Grizzlies, but that would be great. The Blizzard are okay. The rest of them, I don't like.
I don't like any of them. I think they should be Hockey Club. That's my 2 cents.
Nothing wrong with it this year.
Nothing wrong with it this year. I think you have a chance to build unique branding. So there you go. That's basically our segment. Scott, thank you very much for putting up with me for almost 2 hours in this segment. And we'll do it again soon.
We will do it again soon. Thanks for having me on.
All right, later.